Okay, since it's halfway to Halloween, I figure I'll go ahead and kind of show you guys some of the things that are in my little collection of things. There's some old stuff, some new stuff, some vintage stuff, some handmade stuff, just all kinds of little goodies that I like to hang on to and collect. And so yeah, we'll just start with this. Let's start with the top here. Let's see here. So up here we have some vintage pumpkin globe lights. And the cool thing about those is that the glass globes actually have printed jack-o'-lantern faces on them. They're not plastic. One of them is actually missing, so I haven't actually used them, but I just think they're super cool. And up here I have a couple of these little guys that I have made, and they they have their own heads and stuff. This little white cat here is a Department 56. I found him at the thrift store. And there's the other guy. He's kind of creeping back there. And my handmade kitchen witch that I reproduced from a head that I found and made a mold of. And I've got various little chipboard things. Some of them are Bisel, some of them are not. I've got some magazines like highlights. This is the Cub Scout Quarterly from the 50s with some cool graphics on it. I love hanging on to some of those for their graphics and stuff. Let's see, in here I have some little vintage cupcake pics and a little junk journal that I made. There's a few of my art pieces in here. This is something someone made me for a swap, and I love it. And this is a what do you call it? An October daily journal that I did, and you can see that on Vintiquities, my other channel, one of my other many channels. Little doodads here and there. I love all things spooky. That's a little bubble light replacement light that I found. And this has got a cool witch yo-yo and a vintage jack-o'-lantern with the grommets there. Here's a cool little witch noisemaker. And there's a few like little bendy guys back there that are from the 80s. And, a few other little doodads here. I've got a vintage jack-o'-lantern there, and this is a reproduction, although I'm not sure where or who or anything like that. I just found two of those at a thrift store. This was made by a friend on an art doll website where we made each other an art doll and swapped. Her name was Jane, and she made this gorgeous little girl. I love her so much. She's just this cool, awesome girl with her little doll. It's so cute. There's a 1970s ghost guy, and then there's a 1983 Jack and Jill magazine. Sadly, it's torn, but I just still love the little witch on it. And then here we've got some little whistles and little bits and bobs. We've got some little metal noisemakers here. I've got an owl back here. Got my antique Halloween cracker that I did an opening on recently. My mom made me this little pumpkin girl doll, and I love her so much. Here's a vintage flashlight, an Everready, and a not so vintage flashlight. A few potion bottles, some noisemakers, a little witchy whistle from the 80s. And a couple of little guys who aren't so old, but I still love them anyway. Down here I've got this cool kind of spark maker, light up noisemaker thing. And then I have an antique jack-o'-lantern pumpkin that I got in an auction years ago. And a few things that were made for me in swaps that I just absolutely love. Lots of little doodads. He's a little guy that I sculpted a long time ago and put in there, and his friend over here, he's a little guy that I sculpted a long time ago as well. Those were my first attempts at sculpting Sculpey clay. Here's a little noisemaker, shaker noisemaker. There's a little vintage jack-o'-lantern pail there. Got some little books, some spooky rhymes and riddles and mystical mazes back there. I've got a little kitchen witch head, but she's actually a witch with the witch hat. And a couple of my recent sculpts last year. I did these based on a video I watched on YouTube by Ace of Clay. Love his tutorials, love his channel. And then down here I have a reproduction from the 1990s. And then there's a couple of little vintage things stuck in here and there. Here's that other one like that. A few little odds and ends, a few things I've found at Goodwill Outlet over the years. Here's some 1980s Halloween for you, some E.T. cards. And then a few other little things back here. There's a little book back there, and then there's some reproduction Beisel and little Halloween costumes for kids. And then down here, please excuse the dust on this thing. That thing's been around for many years. I just picked this little guy. It's a German die cut, very, very super embossed die cut off of the Cult of Vintage on YouTube. And then there's a few things in there. And I found this 1920s cloth treat bag, trick-or-treat bag at a vintage sale last year. There's a few little pieces back there and a few journals back there. But for the most part, that's pretty much it in that one. Oh, I did forget to say, this is a little swap that someone made me. They decorated that coffin for me, and it has some cool stuff inside of it. But that's pretty much my main collection. And then on this side of the room, I have this cute little witchy girl here. I got her at a craft fair last year. I just love how cute she is. It says Halloween Queen. And I found that little guy at Goodwill. I picked up that Collegeville Costumes cat. It's an antique costume with a fabric body. I picked that up from Cult of Vintage as well. And then there's a few other things. Found that little nutcracker. She's a little witch. She's missing a few things, but I picked her up super cheap. If she had all of her things, she'd be worth about $300. But she's missing her little cat off of her hat and a few apples in her basket. But I still love her. She's still really cool. And a few other things in there. Some of my pottery and mugs and things like that are in here. Some of the Ray Dunn stuff. Some of my favorite, like potion bottles and things. That little witchy girl in there. She's a little altered cigar box that I did years ago. And just a little bit of everything. All kinds of little doodads and cute things that I actually happen to love. There's a little black cat die cut in there. And, just a few things. I pick up things here and there throughout the year and add them to my collection. So, hopefully you guys enjoyed that little look into my small but growing collection. And happy halfway to Halloween, y'all. I'll see you guys in the next video. Don't forget to creep softly.